So, good afternoon, everybody. The reason I'm off camera right now is because I'm having a very bad irritation from my eye, and it's kind of frustrating. So, today's Sunday inspiration comes from this book. If you can see the title, it's called God Has an App for That. And I will be focusing on the curbing your profanity. This comes from James 3, 1 through 12. That's the base of my study here. Shoot, for some reason I can't remember what I did with my crap. Poo-poos. I don't know where it disappeared to. Because if I had the reference, I could read the... So this is for anybody struggling with profanity. If I remember correctly, James discusses using language as a way to build up people and speak the truth in love, to give glory not only to God but also to support other people in their life struggles and whatnot. What I'll do is I'll probably, whenever I locate my Bible, I will just read from that passage later on. So, one of the things I got out of this was, no matter where one goes, sinful speech abounds. Whether you're at a baseball game, at the grocery store, in line waiting somewhere, the bank, wherever it is, driving in your car on the interstate and someone cuts you off, or in town. So there's another example this person that wrote this section gives of, they were attending a stationary bike class, and all of a sudden the instructor presses play on the stereo system, and there was all these songs that were filled with derogatory language. So here's what's going on that he writes. He says, we live in a culture where foul language has become the norm. He's not just talking about cursing. He's talking about a society that uses demeaning and abusive language in everyday conversation, that watches and engages in an endless news cycle of destructive gossip, and proclaims a general attitude of cynicism that makes comedic hay out of others' misfortunes. What's worse, he doesn't hear the language just in the media, but it's even from people who call themselves Christians. And that happens too. I mean, I hear it a lot as well. Christian, non-Christian. The whole point of using our words is that we're supposed to build others up, paint pictures, articulate opinions, construct persuasive arguments, and express love. Those are the intentions, for the most part. However, everybody's speaking foully and perversely. The guy writes, when we should be speaking only truth and edification, instead we're spewing deceit and derision. To many of us, foul language doesn't seem like a big deal. And I can definitely believe that's how it is on YouTube in general. If you would look at Matthew 12, verse 36-37, it says, Jesus is given an admonition to the people he was speaking to. He said, but I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. So, our speech is not just affecting our present time, but also eternity. And so, in that case, we cannot afford at all to allow our speech to go unchecked. So there's 4 reasons why a person needs to turn from coarse language. Basically, it turns your heart away from God, it misrepresents Christ, it injures a person's integrity, and damages relationships. So, further, what I'm saying is that basically, the more a person uses and listens to any type of media book that has foul language, the more you're going to be enticed to fall away. As far as misrepresenting, Ephesians 4 says, "Nor should there be obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving." So the thing is, people are always looking at what we do and what we say and how our actions and words match or don't. So in injuring our integrity, that basically means that that it destroys your credibility. If somebody's speaking foully, but yet supposedly if they're a pastor, would you want to hear that person if all they're doing, like later on even, you might hear somebody gossiping about somebody? Would you really feel that that's a sincere and positive environment? And then the last reason, honestly, harshly spoken words can hurt for a lifetime. So the sticks and stones may break my bones taunt, but words will never hurt me taunt. No, that's totally bogus. Words hurt just as much as an actual stone. Sometimes it hurts because it goes at a whole different level. So there's steps to take to curb your profanity. Our words can basically be forest fires. They start off as a little fire, and it gets more and more. It just builds and builds and builds, and it tears down everything and just terrorizes everything, destroys everything. In verse 3, I guess, of James 3, 1-12, he compares the tongue to a bit that a person would place in the mouth of a horse to steer the animal. So, and he also, in verse 4, he compares it to the rudder of a ship. So, basically, the words that we speak carry enough weight to break our backs, and others, if we're not careful. Step 2 to curbing profanity would be basically looking at what's internal. Pride is the root of the problem with any type of damaging speech. So if you keep that in check, deflate the pride and the ego and the big head before it gets worse. I mean, our purpose as humans is to live peacefully with others, not to be fighting. Step 3 is basically look at what you're taking into your life and what things you're watching. Are the things that you watch, listen to, talk to, the music, is it true? Is it noble, right? Is it pure, lovely, excellent, and admirable? So you basically have to take an inventory of the kinds of materials that you're putting into your life. Number 4, basically they say stick a cork in it. So if you've got something that's overwhelming you, you've just got to squelch that immediately. The problem, this person that writes it, his name is Dudley Rutherford. He says that this world values people who are talkative and quick-witted, aka the extroverts. And many people today, he further says that they consider silence a weakness, which it really isn't. Step 5 would be to crack the whip. So that basically is saying, if you look at Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So unwholesome can also mean destructive, and the word helpful means constructive. And then step 6, get a bigger boat. So you have to think about the fact that the things that we say can become a monster. So we need something that's bigger that can make the good come out of it instead of evil. Christ does not call us to be speaking filthy language. And basically, if a person devotes themselves to praising, you will not have any of that negative stuff coming out of your mouth. We need to diffuse our arrogance. Basically, keep track of your spiritual intake instead of being so involved with profanity and whatever. One thing that a person needs to do is, instead of being so noisy all the time, just get silent. Go into a retreat, whatever. Also, reject harmful speech and choose to speak constructively towards others. So basically, you just need to saturate yourself with prayer and praise and the positive. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that determine what they think is positive or not. But anyway, that is where I will leave it at for now. And thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry if this kind of got rambly. I'll try to be a lot more organized. And I believe the next section I wanted to address is probably the overcome temptation. And that'll be also from the book of James. And I'm also planning to talk about turning stress into joy, because I know there's a lot of stress going on. But stay tuned for next week, July 10th session on overcoming temptation. Thank you.